Okay, I'm making this video so others can do a similar video so that I can get to know them better. So my name is Rod Ulrich. I'll get that on the screen here, get a laser pointer going. Yes, there it is, Rod Ulrich. I have a BS in animal science and then at NDSU, North Dakota State University, I probably should say, and then a master's degree at the same institution. When I started my BS degree, I would have never thought I would have went on to anything past it. But anyway, long story short, got a master's degree at NDSU, North Dakota State University, in a place called Fargo, which if you ever want to see an iconic movie about Fargo, look up the movie Fargo, F-A-R-G-O. That movie took place mainly in Minnesota, but it shows you the stark winters we have. Then I got smart. I moved south to Nebraska for my PhD degree. And then total, that took about 10 years. What I'm circling now on the screen. So I was telling my students I went to college 10 years. Can you imagine how many tests and quizzes I had? And I never would have thought I would have done all that. Anyway, then at the end of my PhD degree, I was looking for some place to go. It's called postdoctoral positions. Those are purely research appointments for 1, 2, 3, maybe some go to 4 years. Anyway, I was lucky enough to get a postdoctoral position at Purdue, and then a job opened up while I was there, and then I stayed there ever since. So get that out of the way. And then I do want to talk about my sabbatical, because I did have a sabbatical, and that's kind of like where you stop what you're doing for a while and go do something else, I guess. And so I had a sabbatical at the IU Med School, which is in Indianapolis. Get my laser pointer going. So yeah, sabbatical at the IU Med School in Indianapolis. I was in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology, and it was great. Had a lot of good time. Did some laboratory techniques I'd never done before. Actually sat in with some med students in their classes. And then what was kind of neat is every Wednesday afternoon, I would disappear, walk across the street to Riley's Children's Hospital and volunteer that afternoon. So every Wednesday afternoon, I was at Riley's Children's Hospital, which was kind of neat and memorable, and man, am I glad I ever did that. So now I want to talk about what I do at Purdue. And what I do is teach students about animals, animal physiology, animal management. When I first got to Purdue, I didn't do any teaching. I was research and extension. It was great. That part of my life was great. But now I'm all about teaching students, and I love that part. So, not sure if I'll ever retire, because there's Onyx showing how a 180-pound dog can be amongst students. He was really very good about that. Let's see if I can move that picture out of the way. Having trouble with my pictures. So here's a picture taken a number of years ago from one of my students, and I'm teaching about 180 students in this classroom about ovulation. I remember that little white thing there. Let me get my laser pointer here. This little white thing is an egg from an ovary, and this is a fimbria, the oviduct. So I'm trying to explain to the class how the egg gets to the oviduct. And then the dog was very interested in it. So Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Then we have dogs come to class, pets come to class, and sometimes we have different treats. We talk about breeds, and you can see my regular outfit there. Let me get over. Okay, my little mouse is not going very well. Anyway, my year-round outfit is a Hawaiian shirt and shorts, so be aware of that. If you ever see me on campus, that's what I'm wearing. Wow, and now I'm having trouble with my mouse, which is going to be crazy. Here we go. I'm going to get another picture going here. There's a basset hound coming to class. Love that. And then here's a group of my students. Maybe I should call them my posse. Is that the right way to say that? When you have a group of people that are with you, my posse. Anyway, group of great students at the end of the semester. I think most of them are graduating that semester, so we were at some local, let's say, watering hole. I'll say that. Anyway, there we go. So please remember, I'm making this little video just to introduce myself with a bunch of random pictures I just picked out in about a 10-minute period. Here's a horse attacking a student of mine. Well, what happened is I'm taking the picture, and I can't remember her name, and I'll get my laser pointer going again. She was a horse girl. And we were on this tour of a horse boarding facility. And this horse, can't remember his name, but he wanted to play with us. He, why? We were talking to him, and the tour went on, and he's trying to bite her, but I'm not sure if he ever would have. Anyway, we had a great time interacting with the horse. I've had a lot of beautiful animals. There's my son Jake when he was very young. And then there's Monique, who's a Great Pyrenees. That's Jake there, by the way. And a Great Pyrenees. And this was in maybe her most photogenic time. She was always beautiful and loved people. Get that picture out of the way. Let's see. Let's do Monique again. A couple more Monique. Took her to graduation outside of Hovde, and everybody wanted their picture with Monique. Everybody. And of course, does it look like she's having a good time? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, and here's the most precious picture. This was a little girl from Korea, South Korea. And I'll never forget, there's her mom's leg. Let me get this over here. See the laser pointer? There's mom's leg. And she goes, "Can my daughter touch your dog?" And I remember telling her, "Your daughter is now in the safest place in the world. Because Monique loves kids. And she will protect your child to the end." And of course Monique's loving it, but that little girl spent a half hour touching Monique. Even when Monique went to sleep, she was pulling on Monique's hair, and of course Monique knew who it was and just kept sleeping. So yeah, that's what I like to do. And then I like to also do photography. So here's a picture of this cabin in the middle of Utah that I drove by, and I looked to my right, and I kept driving, and then about 15 minutes later my brain said, "Please turn around and go take a picture of that cabin with its surrounding environment." So yeah, can you imagine that? That is gorgeous. And I have some bigger pictures of it too. So Yeah, photography. And that's actually called high dynamic range photography. HDR photography. High dynamic range. And I guess the point I wanted to make here with this series of pictures is when I first, well, actually all through my graduate program and early career, I always did a lot of research, a lot of surgery. Research that involved surgery, probably is the way to say that. And here's a picture of a cow, and get my laser pointer going here. Here is the dorsal surface of the cow, the backbone. Here's the tail. The tail's going to go up through the ceiling here. Anyway, this is a cannula, a little tube that has been placed in the tail vein of this, I think it was a heifer, so I'm going to say heifer. The coccygeal vein, if you will. And then for weeks ahead of time, or weeks after this, maybe I should say, we can go up and put a little syringe on this little hub here and take a blood sample from the animal without disturbing it much. I mean, it could be in a stall or something. So this is a cannula inserted into the tail vein, and then it would have went up probably 6 or so inches inside the animal. And it's a great way to have a relatively non-invasive blood sample. Then, one of my past graduate students, Renee, who's in this picture, and if you can tell, this is a sheep. We were doing electrocauteries of ovarian follicles, pre-ovulatory follicles. So that's a picture of Renee getting into the abdominal cavity, and then here is a picture of Renee's hand into the sheep abdominal cavity. This little glistening structure, which is a beautiful picture, which, how many people have ever seen a picture like that? This is the ovine uterus, sheep uterus. The cervix is down in the body. It comes up, and here's the animal's right uterine horn, and this is the animal's left uterine horn. And then the oviduct down here, and then look at that follicle. And I can enlarge this thing a little bit more, but I mean, look at that. Then there's a pre-ovulatory pre-ovulatory follicle here. There might be another one down here. I can't quite see. It's not that great a picture of it. But then what we would do is, if this was their first surgery, we would electrocauterize this follicle, which means we destroyed it. And then we came back in 3 days later to the same animal to see what had happened when we electrocauterized the follicles. That's the most beautiful ovine uterus you will ever see. Okay, so that was my little introduction of my past and my near past, and then present time. And so I'm going to say that's the end of this. Thank you.